Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Chief TIMIPRE SYLVA, inaugurates Mrs. OYANBO OWEI as the first ever female member of the Nigerian Content Development and Management Board. NNPC to reduce crude oil production to $10 per barrel. And DPR says 4 stations in the FCT have complied to new pump price. Rivers State economy to boost with the construction of Train 7 project. The Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission to sanction 7 discos. And on environmental matters, PCBs to be eradicated from the country. All these and more top stories from the energy and environment sector. Stay with us. We'll be back after this break. Welcome back to Energy and Environment Weekly. I'm Joycelyn Alakeche Adam. We are starting up with fresh OPEC update as economies around the world begins to open up after lockdown restrictions were introduced to curtail and stop the spread of the coronavirus. More and more countries are buying more oil. This is giving rise to the pricing of crude oil, which has rose to over $40 within the last few weeks, the first in last 3 months. And with the just concluded OPEC meeting, whereby member countries and Russia agreed on the option of extending the first phase of the production adjustments pertaining in May and June by 1 month further, which means OPEC and its allies have slashed almost 1/5 of their crude oil production in May, which was the first month of their landmark supply accord. According to latest reports, there have been 82% compliance rates to the cuts by OPEC members and Russia, and 9 other countries have made 91% cuts, bringing the total percentage of production cuts compliance to 85%. The supply cut is to run through to July. These efforts are meant to speed up the market recovery from the coronavirus pandemic. It's been reported that some OPEC countries like Iraq, Nigeria, and Angola, and non-participant country Kazakhstan, have been called out publicly by their counterparts for their overproduction. Iraq has reportedly produced a total of 4.19 million barrels for May, which is 600,000 above its cap. And it is reported that Nigeria is also said to have produced nearly 300,000 barrels excess of its quota. And Angola is at 90,000 barrels above its target. Kazakhstan is standing at 161,000 barrels over its quota. The ministers of the 4 countries have agreed and declared their allegiance to the OPEC agreement and have pledged to improve their performance going forward. Meanwhile, Nigeria says it is committed to OPEC oil production cut. The Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Chief TIMIPRE SYLVA, said in the month of May, Nigeria reduced its production to 1.613 million barrels as against the 1.829 million barrels originally earmarked, representing a compliance rate of about 52%. He explained further that Nigeria's current daily production is below the commitment level of 1.412 million barrels per day, which consequentially will translate to full compliance by the end of June 2020. While the OPEC production cuts are ongoing, India international oil companies have picked up at least 6 cargoes of West African crude from Shell, Chevron, ExxonMobil, and Vitol. Traders disclosed that most of the oil picked by India belonged to Nigeria. And moving on, the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Chief TIMIPRE SYLVA, has inaugurated the third board of the Nigerian Content Development and Management Board. The new board will serve a 4-year tenure, and it has its first ever female member, Mrs. OYANBO OWEI. Chief SYLVA reiterated the federal government's target to achieve 70% local content in the oil and gas sector in the next 7 years. The minister said the next 7 years is still visible despite uncertainty around COVID-19 pandemic and instability in the global oil market. He charged the newly elected members to develop policies to ensure growth capacity of indigenous oil and gas operators. The minister said that the Nigerian Content Development and Management Board 10-year strategic roadmap launched in 2018 was a key compass to ensuring that Nigeria derived more value in country from its hydrocarbon resources. Chief SYLVA said the roadmap target is that by 2027, it will achieve 70% Nigerian content level in the oil and gas industry. He further explained that Nigeria must look inwards to explore all the opportunities to diversify and insulate the economy from external shocks. The Minister of State for Petroleum Resources said he wants the goal achieved so that petroleum refining can be domesticated, domiciled, manufacturing of industry requirements, extra value from gas, and position Nigerian operators and service providers at the forefront of the play in the upstream, midstream, and downstream sector of the oil industry. Speaking, the Executive Secretary of the NCDMB, Mr. Simbi Wabote, said the COVID-19 pandemic had revealed that there were existential threats. He said that the ability of a country to cater for its people in a safe and secure environment was inversely proportional to its level of reliance on importation. He explained that most nations diverted their products to their own use while others wait for any crumbs that fell off the table. Engineer Wabote said local content is very important to every nation of the world, and the COVID-19 experience has made several countries to realize the importance of local content. The newly elected members of the council are Mrs. Peace Oyambo OWEI, of course the first female to ever be inaugurated into that board, and she's also a representative of the Ministry of Petroleum Resources. Engineer Saki Awalu, representative of the Department of Petroleum Resources, DPR, and Engineer Farouk Saeed, representative of Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC. Others are Mr. Olorundare Thomas, representative of the National Insurance Commission, NICOM, and Mr. Nicholas Odinuwe, representative of Petroleum Technology Association of Nigeria, PETN. The members were inaugurated for a 4-year tenure. And the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation says some of its partners are producing crude oil at $93 a barrel in Nigeria. The Group Managing Director of the National Oil Company, Malam Mele Kyari, described the development as unacceptable. Malam Kyari said many oil companies operating in Nigeria had personal costs that had become unsustainable under the current market realities. It would be recalled that the Senate Committee on Finance condemned in strong terms the explanation by the NNPC that it spent $21 to produce a barrel of oil. The GMD disclosed this in his presentation at a webinar organized by the Nigerian Association of Petroleum Explorationists. He said several steps are being taken to reduce the cost of crude oil in the industry to $10 per barrel. The GMD explained that the partners producing oil at $93 per barrel simply means that they are subsidizing the business, while others are producing as low as $9 per barrel. Malam Kari said the gap between the company producing oil at $93 per barrel and the other at $9 per barrel is unacceptable. He said it means that the one producing at $9 is the one subsidizing. He said a stop must be put to such actions as the industry needs to work together to put an end to such acts. The National Oil GMD said the corporation will not lay off its workers despite the oil price collapse occasioned by the coronavirus pandemic. He said the impact is monumental. The corporation lost revenue and ran into budget deficit. This has led to delayed projects, and worst of all is job losses, as many companies have allowed job cuts in excess of 30 to 40%. He said things will be done differently at the NNPC, as they will cut their costs so that they can maintain their workforce. The GMD said measures need to be put in place to ensure cost discipline across businesses, as they have engaged all their partners across assets from the production sharing contracts to the joint ventures, as some of these costs are unrealistic. He said some assets produce in the excess of $40 per barrel. Malam Kari said the country has the capacity to increase its production to 3 million barrels per day by 2021, considering the number of projects they have lined up. He said that there is a clear visibility of having a $10 production by the end of 2021. Meanwhile, in a webcast interview, Malam Melikeri told Dubai-based Gulf Intelligence that Nigeria is keen to halt gasoline imports by building new refineries and revamping the old ones that would come on stream by 2022 or 2023. It will be recalled that Nigeria shut down its 4 alien refineries with a capacity of about 450,000 barrels per day in mid-December 2019 in the hope of upgrading them. Malam Kari said the refineries have operated sporadically due to years of neglect, which has forced the oil company to rely heavily on imports to meet its domestic fuel needs. It's reported that Nigeria consumes 1 million to 1.25 million liters of gasoline in a month. The GMD also hopes that the increase in output from the 4 owned refineries, coupled with output from the 650,000 barrels per day privately owned by Dangote refineries, would help it end gasoline imports in Nigeria. Also wants to build a condensate refinery with a capacity of 200,000 barrels per day by 2022. We'll take a short break now, and when we come back, we'll bring more stories from the oil and gas sector. Stay with us. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is Energy and Environment Weekly. Moving on, the Department for Petroleum Resources, DPR, says over 94% marketers have complied with the new fuel price regime. DPR said that at least 94% have complied between 121 naira 50 kobo and 123 naira 50 kobo per litre. The regulatory agency expressed satisfaction with the level of compliance by all marketers. The Abuja Zonal Operations Controller of DPR, Mr. Abubakar Buba, said it would sanction any actor within the downstream sector that flouts the rules. Mr. Abubakar was speaking after a monitoring exercise of 4 retail stations in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. The zonal controller explained that on receipt of the new pricing template from the Petroleum Product Pricing Regulatory Agency, PPPRA, the agency undertook an enforcement of the new prices to ensure compliance. He said that the enforcement activities were aimed at ensuring that marketers do not sell above the stipulated price range of 123 naira per litre or under dispense to motorists or divert the product to neighboring states. During the exercise, 36 fuel stations were visited in the FCT, and of the 36, only 2 were found selling above 123 naira 50 kobo per litre. One of them is at Mpape and the other was at Mabushi. Both retail outlets were sealed off and sanctioned and had been directed to comply with the new prices, after which they will be unsealed. Mr. Buba disclosed that the DPR has intervened into the complaints of contaminated diesel being sold in some locations across the country, stating that its officials had visited these locations to collect samples of the product, and it is currently waiting for the results of the tests conducted on the samples. It will be recalled that the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation had raised an alarm over prevalent low-grade and contaminated diesel circulating in some parts of the country. The corporation said the product was being sold at a discounted price to attract buyers. The managing director of NNPC Retail Limited, Sabili Okoye, said the warning became necessary as the low-grade diesel is harmful to machines and vehicles. Meanwhile, Mr. Buba of DPR explained that the laboratory scientists are not presently available, but the few management staff that are available are trying to make sure that the analysis is done. It was noted that all of the filling stations had complied, but sold at the highest band of 123 naira 50 kobo and not the lower band of 121 naira 50 kobo. And moving on, the indigenes of Rivers State have something to celebrate and look forward to, as the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian Liquefied Natural Gas, NLNG, Mr. Tony Atta, has assured business operators in Rivers that the Train 7 project will stimulate huge business opportunities and positive turnaround for the state's economy. Mr. Atta gave the assurance to the people of Rivers State at a meeting with the state governor, Nyesom Wike. He said, as a testament to the company's proactive and effective operational strategy to survive the challenges brought about by the coronavirus pandemic, the company on the 13th of May 2020 signed and awarded the contract for Train 7 engineering, procurement and construction. Mr. Atta described it as an epic accomplishment for both the company and for the state. He said the project will continue to drive the economy of Bonny and Rivers States in general. Mr. Atta listed the benefits of Train 7 to include employment and income opportunities, construction of personnel and labor. He said at the peak of the construction, over 12,000 jobs will be made available on Bonny Island for Rivers State's indigenes and other Nigerians. Mr. Atta explained to the governor that several companies and businesses situated in Rivers State, such as fabrication yards, construction companies, equipment suppliers, and so many others, will be engaged and will generate significant return for respective tax authorities. He went further to say that the Train 7's multiplier effect will stimulate individual purchases in shops and markets and for other services, which would greatly impact the small-scale businesses and the economy of Rivers State. The COO told the governor that human capacity development targets are being agreed with the Nigerian Content Development Monitoring Board, NCDMD, to ensure Nigerians benefit from the on-job training and personal retraining events. He informed the governor that the University of Port Harcourt has been selected as a center of LNG excellence, where students will receive the required training on LNG production technologies as monitored by NCDMD. Mr. Tar told the governor that currently developing modalities to progress work on Train 7 in the wake of the coronavirus pandemic is being phased to ensure a safe mobilization to site. The MD also shared an update on the company's biggest corporate social responsibility project, the Bonny-Bodo Road, a 38-kilometer stretch of road with 3 major bridges, namely Afa, Opobo, and Nanabe, and 10 mini bridges, which the company presently funds by 50% support. He said that the COVID-19 situation has impacted work progress, resulting in main construction sites in Bodo and Bonny remaining closed since March 2020, but added that dredging and bush clearing works requiring minimal physical contact has continued. He added that project-saying efforts are on for the contractor to resume work fully at the Bodo Rivers community. He commended River State Governor for ensuring peaceful cooperation from all communities along the road right-of-way role, leading to minimal disruption of work. And the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency has received recommendation from international shipping community on its efforts to rid pirates and sea robbers from the Nigerian waters. The commendation, which was given by the International Maritime Organization, said the Nigerian agency have been making sure that the entire Gulf of Guinea region have remained safe and secure for shipping activities to thrive internationally. Maritime Organization is a specialized shipping agency of the United Nations. The agency said it recognized Nigeria's new anti-piracy laws, which recently saw the arrest and prosecution of suspected pirates. The international agency said, with this arrest and prosecution, a strong message and valuable warning have been sounded to the global community that the Gulf of Guinea is no longer a safe haven for pirates and other perpetrators of maritime crimes. And according to the latest report, the coronavirus pandemic and resulting oil price crash are set to wipe out as much as $1.8 trillion from the revenues of oil and gas exploration and production companies this year, the worst hit sector in terms of dollar revenue. The critical and expensive nature of oil and gas extraction in terms of revenue, OPEX and CAPEX, means that the oil and gas sector dominates lost revenue projections, accounting for $1.8 trillion of lost revenue globally in 2020. According to analysts, this is 6 times greater than the impact of the more visibly affected retail sector. It is reported that globally, the COVID-19 pandemic is set to destroy as much as $5 trillion in revenue for corporates. And that's all we can take on Energy and Environment Weekly. You join us next week, Tuesday, as we bring you more stories, top stories from the energy and environment sector. I am Joycelyn Elakeche Ada. Thanks for staying with us.